welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at something that's really captured human attention for ages, something that feels both, mystical and deeply personal. Saturn's return.
Mm-hmm.
In essence, it's the roughly 29.5-year cycle where Saturn completes its orbit and returns to the exact spot in the sky it occupied when you were born. Think of it as a potentially transformative time in your life.
That's exactly right. Yeah, picture the universe as this immense, intricate clockwork, all the planets moving in their cycles.
Okay.
Saturn, with its steady, almost stately journey, it's kind of like the hour hand.
Right, the slow one.
Exactly. And when that hand points back to its original position, your unique birth chart, it's more than just an astronomical alignment. It's a really significant marker, astrologically, even spiritually.
So it's not just some random cosmic event then. It's often seen as a kind of cosmic checkup.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Almost like the universe, or maybe Saturn itself, is asking, so how are things progressing? Are you on a path that truly resonates with you? I even read this idea about needing to present your travel documents to Saturn.
Huh. I like that.
Travel documents.
As if you're being asked to account for the journey you've taken so far, That's a really vivid way to think about it, yeah. And these check-ins, they aren't just one-offs. We tend to experience them around, say, age 29, then again around 58, and potentially around 87 for those who reach it.
Wow, okay. 3 major ones.
And each return seems to carry its own specific weight, its own themes. The first often lines up with stepping into, full adulthood, taking responsibility.
Making those big life choices.
Exactly. The second return, around the late 50s, often involves evaluating our accomplishments, our direction in life, maybe.
Kind of a midlife review, but on a cosmic scale?
Sort of, yeah. And the third, that often prompts deeper contemplation about life's meaning, the legacy we might leave behind.
Okay, so this fascination with Saturn, it clearly isn't new. Where does this all come from? I mean, people have been watching the stars forever.
Oh, absolutely. Our connection to Saturn goes way, way back. The ancient Babylonians, who were incredibly meticulous sky watchers, they gave Saturn a pretty prominent place in how they saw the cosmos.
Okay.
Later, you have the Greeks associating it with Kronos, the god of time.
Kronos, right. Time.
And interestingly, Kronos was also the figure who, the story, fearing being overthrown by his children, actually consumed them.
Oh.
So there's this ancient, almost visceral link between Saturn and the relentless march of time, maybe even time consuming everything.
Heavy stuff.
Yeah. And the Romans continued this reverence, worshiping Saturn. They even held the festival of Saturnalia, which, as you probably know, many people see as a precursor to some of our Christmas traditions.
It's incredible how those ancient ideas still echo, isn't it? Now, from an astrological perspective, Saturn often gets labeled the Great Malefic. That sounds, pretty ominous.
It does sound ominous, yeah. That's its traditional label in medieval astrology, and it's true that Saturn is associated with challenges, limitations, maybe even periods of hardship.
Okay, so not exactly fun times predicted.
Well, but it's crucial to understand why. Saturn highlights the areas where we need to put in the work, where we face our limitations so we can actually overcome them. It's not just negativity.
Ah, okay. So it's constructive.
It can be, yes. It also brings structure, discipline, perseverance, and ultimately wisdom. The difficulties it presents are really opportunities for growth. If we learn those lessons, Saturn can actually bring tremendous stability and real long-term fulfillment.
So it's less about bad luck and more about potential growth through facing those tough spots.
Yeah.
And it seems like psychology, especially Jungian psychology, kind of offers another way to look at this.
Yes, absolutely. From a Jungian standpoint, Saturn's return is seen as a really significant archetypal passage, almost like a modern-day initiation rite, in a way. An initiation. Yeah, it's a period that naturally compels us to look inward, to become more aware of our shadow, those aspects of ourselves we might prefer to ignore,
The bits we don't like to admit to.
Exactly. And the idea is to integrate them. It's a powerful push towards greater self-awareness, towards wholeness.
We know roughly when these returns happen, around 29, 58. But what's the actual experience like? Does it just hit you like a ton of bricks on your 29th birthday?
Not usually, no. It's less of a sudden event and more of a gradual process. It typically unfolds over, say, 2 to 3 years.
Oh, okay. Well, longer window.
Yeah, it starts as Saturn approaches its natal position in the sky. The intensity often peaks when it's exactly aligned, and then the effects gradually ease off as it moves away. So it's more of a slow build and then a release of pressure.
That makes more sense. So within this 2 to 3 year window, What kinds of shifts or experiences might someone notice? My research turned up quite a few possibilities.
Well, it can be a really multifaceted experience for sure. Common threads often include a feeling that the fundamental structures of your life.
Like career, relationship, right?
Exactly. Your career, your relationships, maybe your living situation. That they're either crumbling or maybe they just need serious rebuilding on a more authentic foundation.
Right.
There's often a direct confrontation with the consequences of past choices. Things you might have managed to avoid or ignore earlier in life suddenly seem unavoidable.
That sounds pretty intense, like a moment of reckoning.
Precisely. That's a good word for it. It frequently prompts a significant reevaluation of your priorities. What felt really important to you in your early 20s might look very different as you approach 30, for example.
Well, yeah, I can see that.
You might also encounter specific challenges, maybe roadblocks in your professional life or in your closest relationships. Even with your own sense of identity, who you believe yourself to be might feel like it's undergoing a major transformation.
And I read about that feeling of time slipping away, like a heightened awareness of the clock ticking. Maybe a fear of not having accomplished enough.
Yes, that sense of urgency is very, very common. It can manifest as a feeling that you really need to get serious about your aspirations, or maybe that you're running out of time to achieve what you desire.
Mm.
This period can also bring up profound existential questions, questioning your life's purpose, your place in the bigger picture.
Mm.
Ultimately, many people experience this strong yearning to live more authentically.
More in line with who they really are.
Exactly, in a way that truly reflects their innermost values and desires, not just what they thought they should be doing.
So if someone listening is thinking, wow, this sounds familiar, or maybe this sounds kind of scary, what are some practical ways to navigate this potentially turbulent time? It can sound a bit overwhelming.
It can, yeah. But there are definitely proactive steps you can take. First, and maybe most importantly, is accepting responsibility for your own life, your choices.
Taking ownership.
Exactly.
Right.
While it might have been easier in the past to point fingers or blame circumstances, Saturn's return really calls for owning your decisions and their outcomes. It's also a crucial time to really re-examine those life structures we mentioned, which ones are still supporting your growth, and which ones, honestly, need to be dismantled or fundamentally reshaped.
So a deep personal inventory is needed then. What else can be helpful?
Well, patience and persistence are absolutely key. Saturn operates on a longer time frame, right? So the changes you initiate might not yield immediate results.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
You got it. Trusting the process and consistently applying effort is vital. Learning from past experiences is also crucial, but without getting bogged down in regret. Use those experiences as valuable data, basically, to inform your current and future choices.
Right. Learn, don't dwell.
And cultivating discipline and order can provide a much-needed sense of stability during a time that can feel quite chaotic. Just establishing healthy routines can be surprisingly grounding.
That makes a lot of sense, creating some stability when everything else feels like it's shifting.
Exactly. And while Saturn definitely emphasizes responsibility, it's equally important to find a healthy balance between, duty and joy. Life shouldn't become solely about obligations.
Got some fun too.
Absolutely. Actively engaging with your fears rather than trying to avoid them can be incredibly empowering. Often those fears are directly connected to the very areas Saturn is urging you to address.
Face the fear.
Yeah. And don't hesitate to seek guidance. Talk to mentors, elders, anyone whose life experience you respect. They can offer really valuable perspective.
That's good advice.
And maybe counterintuitively, practicing gratitude for what you do have can significantly shift your outlook, even when things feel tough. Finally, just try to trust the process. Even when it feels challenging, remember that Saturn's return serves a purpose in your evolution.
That's all incredibly helpful, practical advice. Now, the material I looked at also mentioned how Saturn's placement in your birth chart, your zodiac sign, can color the specific lessons of your return. Could you give us a quick sense of some of those key themes?
Sure, certainly. It adds another layer of personalization. For example, if you were born with Saturn in Aries, your return might really focus on your individual identity, how you assert yourself, learning to take decisive, independent action.
Okay.
With Saturn in Taurus, the central themes often revolve around your core values, your sense of financial security, and your relationship with the material world, how you handle resources.
Right.
Gemini placements might encounter challenges and opportunities for growth in communication, learning, maybe mental flexibility, adapting to new ideas.
Okay. And what about, say, Cancer or Leo?
If Saturn was in Cancer at your birth, the return can bring up significant issues related to your emotional foundations, family dynamics, your inner sense of security.
Home and roots.
Very much so. Leo placements often grapple with expressing their authentic self, really embracing their creativity, finding genuine joy.
Interesting. And Virgo. Libra.
Virgo returns can highlight the importance of service, paying attention to your health, the effectiveness of your daily routines, the practical stuff. For those with Saturn in Libra, relationships, fairness, justice, finding equilibrium, those often become central areas of focus.
Makes sense. And the signs often associated with more intense energies, like Scorpio or Capricorn.
Right. With Saturn in Scorpio, you might expect themes of deep transformation, your approach to shared resources like finances with a partner, or even deeper emotional sharing and navigating intense emotional landscapes.
Okay.
Sagittarius returns often involve a reevaluation of your belief systems, your personal philosophy, maybe your whole quest for meaning. What do you truly believe?
Big questions.
Yeah. Capricorn placements frequently bring a strong focus to your career path, your public standing, your long-term ambitions, very goal-oriented.
Makes sense for Capricorn.
Aquarius returns can underscore themes of personal freedom, innovation, and how you contribute to the wider community or society. And lastly, Saturn in Pisces might bring lessons around compassion, spiritual development, and maybe learning to discern truth from illusion.
Wow.
But it's important to remember these are general tendencies, right? The whole chart matters, but they offer a glimpse into the specific flavors that might be emphasized during your return.
This is all so fascinating. It makes me wonder why Saturn's return seems to be such a popular topic of conversation these days, especially in contemporary society.
That's an excellent point. I think part of it is that in today's world, many of the traditional milestones of adulthood and life progression are becoming more fluid, or they're happening later.
Yeah, things aren't as predictable.
Exactly. People are delaying marriage, having
Yeah.
children later, changing careers multiple times, seeking fulfillment outside of conventional paths. In this less structured environment, Saturn's return can act as a significant internal marker, a kind of reminder of the deeper, cyclical rhythms of life that exist beyond whatever society's current norms are.
Like a natural anchor point.
Yes, a kind of universal nudge that certain fundamental life processes and challenges remain relevant no matter how much the world around us seems to be evolving or changing.
That makes a lot of sense. An inherent checkpoint in a rapidly changing world. The sources I looked at even touched on how different generations might experience this differently.
Yeah, that's interesting too. For millennials, many of whom are experiencing their first Saturn return amidst maybe economic uncertainty and definitely evolving definitions of success,
Sure.
this period can be particularly focused on establishing a sense of stability and purpose in a somewhat unpredictable landscape. What does making it even mean anymore?
Right.
Whereas for Generation X, who are often navigating their second return now, it can involve a deeper reevaluation of what it means to mature and age in this digital age. The boundaries between work and personal life are so blurred, and traditional retirement models might feel less certain or applicable.
It's thought-provoking to consider those generational nuances. And the material also included brief accounts of individuals who navigated their returns. I think Jana and Peter were the examples.
Exactly. Jana, during her first Saturn return, made a huge career shift. She left a secure but ultimately, unfulfilling corporate job to start a publishing house focused on spiritual literature.
Wow, that's brave.
It involved considerable risk, financial uncertainty, definitely, but years later, she's running a thriving business that really aligns with her core values. It paid off.
That's inspiring. And Peter.
Peter, during his second Saturn return, faced a pretty serious health crisis, and that prompted a profound life reassessment. He ended up deepening his connections with his family, discovered a hidden passion for painting, and started volunteering in his community, found new meaning.
So these stories really highlight the potential for positive transformation, even if the start feels difficult.
Absolutely. They illustrate that it's not necessarily just a period of hardship, but often a powerful catalyst for positive change, for building something more authentic.
Right. Now, for listeners who want to consciously engage with this period, maybe make the most of it, what kind of rituals or practices might be beneficial?
There are several really intentional ways to work with the energy of Saturn's return. Keeping a dedicated journal specifically for this time can be incredibly valuable.
Just tracking thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, tracking your dreams, insights, challenges, your evolving perspectives. It helps make sense of it all. You might also consider creating symbolic rituals,
Like what?
maybe to acknowledge and consciously release aspects of your life that no longer serve you, and then to intentionally welcome new beginnings, marking the transition.
Okay.
Meditating on the symbolism of Saturn itself can be powerful too. Its rings are often seen as representing boundaries, but also protection, and the wisdom gained through experience.
Boundaries and wisdom.
Yeah. Creating a vision board for the next phase of your life, clearly outlining your values and aspirations, can provide focus and direction. And if you can find a group, maybe connecting with others who are also going through their Saturn return.
A Saturn circle.
Exactly. That can offer invaluable shared support and understanding, knowing you're not alone in it.
These all sound like really grounded ways to interact with what can sometimes feel like a very abstract, even overwhelming process. So as we begin to wrap up this deep dive, what's a central message you'd want our listeners to really take away about Saturn's return?
I think ultimately, while Saturn's return can indeed present significant challenges, it's also an exceptionally valuable opportunity for profound personal growth and transformation. That's the key.
The challenge is the opportunity.
Precisely. It teaches us that true freedom isn't necessarily about avoiding limitations and responsibilities, but actually about consciously embracing them, integrating them into our lives in a mature way.
That's a really powerful way to frame it. Finding liberation within structure, not just trying to escape it.
Exactly. By engaging with the lessons of Saturn, really leaning in, we have the potential to build lives that are more authentic, more meaningful, and more deeply aligned with our true selves. We can discover a sense of purpose in discipline, believe it or not, and gain real wisdom from understanding time, not as an enemy constantly ticking away, but as a teacher.
So it's not something to dread necessarily, but something to learn from and evolve through.
Exactly right. Saturn's return serves as this potent reminder that life isn't just a straight line, a linear progression. It's a continuous cycle of growth, challenges, integration, and transformation.
Cycles within cycles.
And within each of these cycles lies a unique opportunity to become more fully ourselves, wiser, stronger, and more in tune with our highest potential.
That's a really beautiful perspective. Thank you for taking this deep dive with me today.
My pleasure.
And for you listening, maybe the next time you look up and see Saturn in the night sky, remember it's not just some distant ringed planet, but perhaps a powerful symbol of your own ongoing journey through time. A journey that, if you embrace its lessons, can lead you toward deeper wisdom and a truly more authentic existence.